Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Britball with the Breens. This week is our first playoff weekend, so as normal, we'll go through the results from last weekend in Division 2, and then we'll go through this week's playoff picture. Look at the games that we've got at hand, see what we think going forward this week. So we'll start off with the fixtures from last week. So in the NFC North, we had Inverclyde Goliaths versus Clyde Valley Blackhawks. Inverclyde take this one 14-12. Not a huge shock. I think we both picked Inverclyde for this one. We weren't sure, having Clyde Valley already secured the number 3 seed. Weren't sure how they'd come out, and was it actually a benefit to them for Inverclyde to move up in the seedings? I'm not sure. So, but either way, it's a good win for Inverclyde.
Yeah, I mean, it puts them second place in the NFC 2 North, and it gives them the 5th seed. Yeah, we kind of weren't sure how Clyde Valley were going to play it. Were they going to come out and go full force, try and get the win after not getting the perfect season with the tie last week. They jumped out to a 2-0, a 12-0 lead, and then I don't know if they maybe just took the foot off the gas or Inverclyde made adjustments. Either way, it's a good win for them, and it kind of moves them from sort of that 7th seed up to the 5th seed. And keeps Clyde Valley exactly where they were in the 3rd seed anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would think that they were up by points, and then they realised that the Bulls were winning comfortably and Halton were winning comfortably, so rest some players, but we don't know. So a good win for Inverclyde there. In the NFC Central, we had Halton versus the Storm. A pretty decent win for Halton. Now, I watched the game. One of the first ones I've watched from Halton this year. They look decent team on offense, and fairly comfortable on defense as well. Morecambe Bay did have their chances early on, but made a few mistakes. So 41-13 is still a good victory for Halton.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was a bit sloppy at times. I think there was a lot of unforced mistakes. Worth pointing out, the stream was great. Obviously, that stadium's incredible, and Halton are doing really good things.
But just stay in overview. Don't keep changing camera angle. It was such a good stream.
Mid-play, moving in, so we were zoomed in on the sideline was a bit weird. Try and keep it panned out when we're seeing the play happen, so
because
we can see all the way
good
downfield, because it was really good quality, and the commentary was good as well.
Yeah.
Halton will be happy with that win again. They knew what situation they were in. The Bulls are winning comfortably. They kind of just sort of let off towards the end of the game, make sure they get guys fresh for the playoffs, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah. The other game in that division, Nottingley Raiders versus Furness Phantoms. Now, Furness win this one 19-8. Now, me being cynic I am, how much of this was Nottingley going, I don't want to go to Birmingham?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this. It's a tough one to call. I wouldn't like to throw the accusation out there that Nottingley perhaps weren't that interested in travelling to Birmingham. But it certainly looks like that. There were winners over Furness before. They looked like they were going to be locked in to go to the playoffs in that 8th seed. And then obviously they get beat and miss out in the playoffs. So, yeah, there's definitely a case to be made that perhaps, they did look at the Bulls and thought, I don't want any of that.
And there's also the fact that what happened to Morecambe Bay was it last year? Or was that Worcestershire? Sorry, Black Knights. There's also that, and then what happened to Worcestershire is they pulled out of that playoff, and they obviously got banned this year, and then they've struggled big time. So they maybe thought that way, but no thingy to Furness. That was a good win for Furness to finish their season, but I'm not convinced overall, to be honest with you. In the NFC South, as we said, Birmingham Bulls 21-0 winners over the Surge. Again, looks like they found it pretty comfortable. we've said all season their defense is ridiculous. That's a Division 1 level defense they had last year, never mind this year. And they'll rightfully take the number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and as reward for Serge managing to make into the playoffs, they get to go and play the Bulls again.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll be absolutely buzzing about that. The Bulls, but then there's the argument made familiar opponents. They'll be playing each other the third time this year. The Bulls will be confident. They've won comfortably twice. They're your perfect season. They're not conceding many points, as you rightfully said. The defense is pretty phenomenal. I've got a lot of confidence in that team going into the playoffs.
Yeah. The other game in that division, Lincolnshire Bombers 54? 54-14 over Crewe. I mean, that's a serious win for them. They've done really well this season. As we said last season, their game film looked pretty decent. They've built on that this year. Inverclyde are going to have a tough time against them, I think, in the next round. So, but a good victory to round out their season.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of spoke on it last year as well that they were scoring points for fun, but they just couldn't keep teams out at all.
Yeah.
They seem to have fixed a lot of that this time round. They aren't conceding as many points. I believe Crewe actually gave them a bit of a scare early on, did they not? I think
it looked like it, yeah.
I think the Bombers were behind at one point, but they kind of righted that ship and really hammered it home, and they'll be looking a bit dangerous going into the playoffs.
Yeah, so they're another one to keep an eye out for over the next couple of weeks. In the SFC West, South Wales Warriors 51 zip winners over the Cornish Sharks. Extremely convincing at this time of the year. Can't really say much more than that. They are a strong team. They have to be one of the favourites for that division this year again.
Yeah, it's another big win. They'll be feeling good going to the playoffs, and you imagine with a scoreline like that, they had plenty of time to be able to sit guys down and give them a bit of a breather and focus on this weekend rather than the rest of the Sharks game.
Yeah, you think they'd be able to get a rest anyway. In the SFC South, Bournemouth versus Hastings. Bournemouth coming out 6-0 winners. No surprise there. Hastings been poor all season, and the season before that, So, but Bournemouth look much improved this year. They look strong. They've run the Blitzby close it twice. They've really not given up much at all other than that. So they look in a decent nick to go into the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing as well. They are looking strong, and this is where we actually start to find out about divisions against divisions and just how good they actually are. But they'll be feeling confident. It's a big win, but not a surprising win.
No. And the other game in that division, the Raptors, Jurassic Coast Raptors 14, Swindon Storm 36. Again, not hugely surprising. I guess the biggest surprise would be that the scoreline was competitive and it was a lot closer than I would have predicted. But another good win for Swindon there. So a decent season for them all round.
Yeah, well, I said in their third last game that the Raptors had obviously found a bit of offense, and we'll pass that on to how that would be a bit worrying for the Hastings game, and rightfully so. They came and put up a load of points, and again they've still put up 14 points on Swindon, but once again the problem is that they're conceding them by the bucket load.
Yeah.
They'll be looking to obviously build on it next year, and try and really take another step up.
Yeah, so we'll see how they go next year. The SFC East, 3 games in this one. So we'll have East Essex Sabres 7, East Kent Mavericks 31. Round off a decent season for the East Kent Mavericks. They had a bit of up and downs, but that's a decent way to round it out. Essex Sabres struggling all season, so it's not a huge surprise this scoreline.
No.
The other Essex team, Essex Spartans versus Ipswich Cardinals, didn't disappoint. 27-14 to Essex Spartans. Now Essex, if you've seen, we've got a new Twitter page, so I put our power rankings up on there earlier. So Essex have moved up into that power rankings. Have to take that display 27-14 as a solid win over Ipswich. But again, Ipswich managing to score some points and make it a good game.
Yeah, I guess the only thing disappointing about that game is that no one actually took us up on the offer to start giving us a bit of a stream of the game anyway. Yeah, again, decent amount of points, a good competitive game, and also both these teams sort of heading into the playoffs, they could both be quite dangerous going into that.
Yeah. The last game in the division, Norwich Devils 47, Maidstone Pumas 19. Now again, this seems like a big scoreline. Norwich haven't been scoring many points all season. They've found their groove in the last few games. But Maidstone, again, putting up 19 points is a massive improvement from what they would have done last year.
Yeah, and I mean, they're obviously going to be disappointed in the season they've had. They always want to sort of build on it and get a couple of wins under the belt or a win, but I think they can take a lot of positives from this year. Just now they need to consolidate what they've got, recruit heavily, build on what they've got, the seniors they've got around them, and really try and focus on heading forward with that.
Yeah, they do. Well done to the Furness Phantoms. 21% vote this week. 21% vote this week. You were the lowest percentage that won the game. It's a good showing from you guys. Okay, so we're on to the playoffs now. Obviously, huge games now.
The only football that matters really is the playoff football.
We'd expect some of these games to be a lot closer than some of the regular season one, but then again, there is the potential for some blowouts here as well. So, where will we start? Start in the north.
Start in the north, yeah.
So, in the Division 1 North playoffs, so the number 1 seed, Sandwell Steelers, they come up against the number 4 seed. No, it doesn't really matter, does it?
It's just first and second.
Okay, so the second seed of the other division, East Kilbride Pirates. Now, we've said all season, if Sandwell are playing, vote Sandwell. This one isn't as simple as that. East Kilbride have a very good team. They have a great defence. Their offence, when it fires, is extremely good. And I think that's where it's going to come down to. If East Kilbride turn up with an offence that's ready to score points, I think this is a closer game than we think. But if they don't, I think Sand will destroy that defensive line will destroy East Kilbride if they don't get going early.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point of the season where nothing is predictable anymore. Sandwell have obviously looked strong all year. East Kilbride only have that one blip on their record, and we've seen it. It was pretty horrendous conditions and stuff like that as well. We know they've got a decent passing game when they get it going early. We know the quarterback is an extremely dangerous runner. Sandwell, that offense is just efficient. It's just play after play after play. They can take you for 20 plays on a drive, or they can burn you in one. They just put up points. Both teams, aggressive looking defenses. Realistically, I know it wasn't picked as it, but for me, this is the game of the week. I want to know what this game looks like. It could go either way. I still think Sandwell are maybe just a bit too strong, especially with the long journey and being at home, but it could go either way.
For me, I'm looking at the amount of offensive holding there was against Newcastle and Northumberland, sorry. I still call you Newcastle. And the Northumberland Vikings, no offence, their defensive line is not the Sandwell Steelers defensive line. So that's for me, that's where it's going to come in. I think Sandwell probably win this one. And the other fixture, the number 1 seed Northumberland Vikings versus the number 2 seed Shropshire Revolution. Now we don't agree on this game. I'll say my bit first. I actually have Shropshire to win this game, depending on how they travel. Having watched Shropshire over the last couple of seasons, their defence is very good, other than when they play Sandwell. But, well, let's be honest. Their defence is solid. They do put up points against lesser teams. Chester, who were in the Division 2 final last year, they made short work of them. So, seeing how our defence did against the Northumberland Vikings, our offence didn't fare very well. But if Shropshire's is any little bit more decent than ours is at the moment, then we'll see a big a big game here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've spoke, but we disagree on this one. I know Shropshire are a strong team. They've had a bit of an up and down season by their standards. They got into the playoffs on the last day. You maybe sort of wonder, are they, they're obviously not expecting to get past Sandwell if they have to play them, or inevitably if Sandwell get beat, you wouldn't fancy them against the Pirates. But Northumberland do have a very strong front seven. They've got a talented safety in Connor Joyce. It is hard to get past that defense.
Well, I think our rushing game got 4 yards, not that weren't scrambles. 4 yards against the Northumberland defense, and number 3 destroyed everybody.
Yeah, when I do want to attempt his name, but I don't want to get it wrong. But I think it's Ducey Burwell. Number 3, you probably have seen a couple of clips from him, and he hits like a truck when he wants to. I think that this could be a slugfest. I think this could be sort of one of those 9-3 kind of games.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Which probably means it's going to be the total opposite, because I always get this one's wrong. It depends on what the Vikings offense does, and I think that's where they're going to struggle. But it will come down to that. I think both these teams are going to have decent defenses. It might come down to a single score.
Yeah. In the south, we have the number 1 seed Solent Thrashers versus the number 2 seed London Hornets. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Hornets. I think they're a great team from what I've seen them last year and this year. They've had a few blips this year, and they're going up against an extremely talented Solent Thrashers team. Obviously, Solent at home. I'm not sure I can see past Solent in this one.
No, I mean, someone might want to correct me here, but I think there was a bit of a running joke last year that Solent have a habit of not winning these games over the last couple of seasons. They've looked strong all year. The Hornets have also looked strong. They've been competitive in games. Even the games they've lost have been tight. I think Solent will have too much, and I think they'll run out fairly comfortable winners.
Yeah, I think Solent have this one. I think London seem to put up points when they want to, but also have their struggles times, but conceding. And Solent seem to like to score a lot of points, so yeah, I go with Solent on this one. The other game, the number 1 seed Cambridgeshire Cats versus number 2 seed Sussex Thunder. This could be a cracker. It is the game of the week. The Cats have been excellent all season. They've controlled a lot of play. They've scored a lot of points. Not conceded many points. Sussex, on the other hand, started really slow. Have scored for fun in the last 3 weeks, but I am not sure when they come up against a defense that's this much better than some of the ones they've played over the last few weeks that they can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard pick for me purely because I'm a big fan of the Cats. I've made no secret of that all year. I'm also a massive fan of the Thunder. I picked and unpicked this game at least 5 or 6 times. I wasn't sure. I just think from the clips I've seen of the Thunder that as good as that offense is at throwing the points on the board, that they're going up against a very, very good Cats defense, and that might make it a bit too much. However, when we swapped picks this week and you told me that you'd picked the Cats, I was instantly disappointed because you let me down the last time you picked them. True. So hopefully the curse isn't still there, Cats.
Yeah, so we'll see how that one goes. That could be a cracker of a game. To be fair, all the Division 1 ones look like they'll be decent games. Into Division 2, there is some tasty looking games in here as well. So in the north, Birmingham Bulls play the Surge for the 3rd time this year. Birmingham have won them both comfortably. As I said, their defense is really good. Their offense has scored way more points this year than it had last year. In terms of in the bigger games, So I can't see this one going any other way with Birmingham.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how much motivation the Surge guys are going to have for this game. I do think the only thing that stops Birmingham making the semi-final now is complacency. They know each other very well. Obviously makes things difficult. You'll expect coaches to put in a wrinkle or two this week.
Yeah.
But I think Birmingham get the job done.
Yeah. The second game, the Halton Spartans play the Dumfries Hunters. This one I think will actually be closer than a lot of people suspect. Dumfries almost upset Staffordshire last year in the quarterfinals. They are not to be taken lightly. They have a very potent offense when they want to. Their defense doesn't let up huge plays. You have to dig at them. However, on the other side, Halton have been scoring for fun. Even against the second best team in their division, they've been scoring for fun. So this could be a real defensive slog, or it could be a total shootout.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously very familiar with Dumfries' defence. It's very aggressive, 5-man on the line. It's not even a 9-tech, it's more like an 11-tech lineup at times with the way they do it. They come after the quarterbacks and the running backs hard off the edge. Halton look much more conventional. Interesting one about this one though is I'm not entirely sure if either team has an away kit and they both play in green. I'd like to find out if anyone can enlighten me about that one, or maybe a borrowed shirt job. Yeah, this game could be a lot closer than people think. It depends how heavy the Hunters travel. Halton will be feeling confident in their home stadium. I think they'll have enough.
Yeah. The next game, the Clyde Valley Blackhawks versus Leeds Bobcats. Now, Clyde Valley secured the 3 seed a while back. They've struggled the last 2 games of the season, going by results. And Leeds are coming up to play them. Now, the last time Leeds took a visit to Glasgow, they got pummeled by the Glasgow Tigers, 33-6 I believe it was, a couple of years ago. So I think they're going to struggle to take a team to Clyde Valley and beat them again this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Clyde Valley are going to be disappointed with the way they closed out the season. Strangely enough, I feel like losing at the weekend benefited them because they were likely to face the Hunters again and again. That would be another case of facing a team 3 times in a season. Yeah. Now they get a completely fresh opponent, an opponent that has to make a decent sized road trip from Leeds to Wishaw. Historically, there tends to be a big backing for the English sides in these clashes, and historically there tends to be a lot more physicality in the Scottish teams that people aren't expecting. I actually expect to see the similar thing again. I think the journey will take a bit of a toll as well, and I think Clyde Valley get through.
Yeah. The last game I actually think is going to be the best game. Lincolnshire Bombers versus Inverclyde Goliaths. Inverclyde have had a great first season. They've got a lot of experience in their squad, even though they're a new team. Lincolnshire Bombers have stepped up this year after missing out in the playoffs. Did they miss out last year? No, they didn't. They got knocked out in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So they've went through the quarterfinals last year. They're now up again to the quarterfinals. They'll be keen to prove that they've improved. Their offense scores points. Their defense, as we said earlier, seems a bit more stingy this year. The Inverclyde team is a big physical unit. So it's going to be an interesting one. Can Lincolnshire stop Inverclyde scoring? If so, can Inverclyde stop Lincolnshire scoring? And I mean, that seems like obviously that's football, but it could be a case of who gives in first.
Yeah, and you just wonder whether that Inverclyde physicality will take its toll with that. I'm fairly confident that's a lengthy bus journey to Lincolnshire.
It is. I used to work there.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it's a big journey. It could be a really good game. Lincolnshire will be glad that they've got a home field game this year as well, and they'll be looking to take that step further, as you say. I think this could be a really competitive game. Again, I'll refer back to the physicality side of things. I think home field plays a big part, and although maybe not as prolific as their offense has been in other games, I think they'll put up enough points.
Yeah. So that's the north. In the south, the first game, Essex Spartans play the Ipswich Cardinals again, back-to-back weeks. So again, this could be a point of, did the teams show each other an awful lot last week? We don't know. Essex came out comfortable winners in the end. Well, I say comfortable, 2-score winners. Ipswich obviously put up some points, but playoff time, same venue. Think it might be the same result.
Yeah, I mean, guys, you've got a second bite of the cherry here. You know, it was a good competitive game last time. If there's anyone down there wants to like get it up on Facebook, like go stream it through Facebook or something, get it done. I think it'll be a competitive game. Yeah, you'll have 2 people watching at least. I've got nothing better to do with my Sundays. You know, it should be a good game. You'd fully expect the Spartans to get the job done again. But this is playoff football and you don't know.
Yeah. The second game, the South Wales Warriors versus Bristol Apache. I think this will be the blowout, if there is one in this division. I think this will be the blowout. I think South Wales have got too much for Bristol after us giving them a bit of credit a couple of weeks ago. I think this one could be a 3 or 4 score game.
Yeah, again, familiar opponents playing each other. They've seen each other before. I think South Wales are too strong, and as you say, I think this could be one of the lesser competitive games.
Yeah. The third game, the London Blitz B versus the Torbay Trojans. Torbay Trojans looked decent in the first bit of the season, but got absolutely hammered by the South Wales Warriors later on. London Blitz B have done their work the whole season. Bournemouth ran them close twice, but they've came through it. And that Bournemouth team looks like it's a decent team. So I think the Blitz will win this one. I think they have enough experience. They got beat by the eventual champions last year. So I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, and I think looking back to that last year, I think the Blitz B were quite competitive with Hertfordshire. And I believe Hertfordshire later on played somebody from the Torbay division. I couldn't tell you exactly who it was. And I don't think it was anywhere near as competitive, or perhaps it was Portsmouth.
Is it not Norwich? Oh no, that was London.
No, Portsmouth
London,
played
Torbay,
I think, last year. I'm not sure. But you know, the London Blitz B have looked strong all year. Whether they've been challenged enough, they got a tight game against Bournemouth. Whether they've been challenged enough outside of that, I'm not sure, but I think they'll have too much, particularly being at home.
Yeah. The last game, Norwich Devils versus Bournemouth Bobcats. Norwich, as I say, haven't really scored many points this season. Struggled a little bit, but they've got there. They've got a good record, so we can't deny that. However, Bournemouth have played really well this season. They should have beat the Blitz, especially in one game was extremely last minute. They ran them close both times. Their defense looks really good against anyone but the Blitz, and their offense puts up points against everyone, even with the Blitz. So, for my opinion, I reckon Bournemouth have this one. I don't think it'll be a huge score line, but I think they'll beat Norwich in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. I don't actually think this one will be that close. I'm not saying it's going to be 50 burger territory. I'm not even suggesting that, but I think Bournemouth could win by 2 or 3 scores. I think they're a very efficient football team by the looks of it. Got some decent sized guys in that team as well. Still feel they should get black helmets to go with the rest of the uniform because it's sick. But yeah, I think Bournemouth are going to be too strong for Norwich. And that's probably our best chance of a seeding upset in the playoffs from that division.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. So that's them all. It looks like a really solid weekend of football. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the results, hopefully watching some of the games if they're up. As I said earlier, we now have a Twitter page. We don't get a huge amount of feedback. We get the odd bit here and there. We don't even get much stick, which is probably the most surprising thing. So if you even fancy giving us a bit of stick on Twitter, then fair enough.
Dickhead.
Yeah, well, that was on double coverage. So we've opened our Twitter. There's power rankings for the teams on there that will reflect what we've said today. But that's Britball with the Breens, and hopefully we'll have a good weekend of football.